Good evening, gentlemen. This is Coach Dub coming to you live from a warehouse deep in the heart of Central Texas, bringing to you Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub. Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub is my personal podcast. This is going to be like a trial episode, pilot episode, if you will. Going to talk a little sports from today. Give you some sports scores, just all around talking about, some sports stuff. And before we get into all of that, I'm going to give you all a rundown on how Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub came to be. So I guess we'll just jump right in there with that. My buddy Mike, we play college football 25 by E.A Sports Online together. And he says, hey man, I got this new dynasty. Why don't you jump on over, play with us as Texas A&M, because that's your team. I'm a diehard Texas A&M Aggie fan. Gig 'em. Love the Aggies. My kids love the Aggies. We go to games every year. But anyway, so he knows I love the Aggies. He knows I'm a big Texas A&M fan, and he says, hey, come on over, join the league, beat A&M. I said, okay, let me do that. So I jump on over, and we get into the first couple of weeks of the season, played a couple games, and he says, hey, let's do this like back and forth thing where we give picks for the offensive and defensive players of the week for the conferences. He was in the Big Ten as Penn State, and I'm Texas A&M in the SEC. And he said, we'll do them for the SEC and the Big Ten. I said, hey man, that sounds like a great idea. He says, we'll take turns going first, so we can give each other hell about each other's picks or why they're wrong or why we don't agree with them, and we can give different picks, and we'll make it like, a back and forth thing. I said, hey, it sounds great. So we do it the first time, it goes over good, right? And then I remember it's his time to go first. And he goes first, and I think, man, I'm gonna tell some funny jokes or something, And so the first thing I say is, I put down his picks and stuff, and I'm talking about it. But I believe one of the things I said was, if a blind man was playing darts, he'd have a better chance of hitting the bullseye than Big Mike would of making the right pick. Something like that. It was kind of funny. The guys ate it up. So what did I do? I did it again the next time I got to go after he did, with my picks. And I believe that time, whatever his picks were, I said, hey, you know what? I said, Big Mike, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to help you with your picks, man. I said, I want you to take a piece of paper. I want you to write your picks down, and I want you to take a long, hard look at that piece of paper on your picks. Then I want you to throw it in the garbage, because that's where they belong, because your picks are trash. And it's all in good fun. And me and him had a blast. We go back and forth, and it is what it is, and I love the guy to death. But anyways, so I did something similar in my league that I was in. And then I thought, man, this is like a podcast, the way I go about all this stuff. So I started calling it the Horned Frog Podcast, because I'm TCU. And the guys are so excited every time we get to a new week, waiting for it. I think I had the flu one time, and I was sick, and I missed a couple of days. And the guys were talking in the chat about how, we miss you, Coach Dub. When are you coming back? And I was active in the chat, but these guys were pushing for me to put out these podcasts every week. Really, it's every day, because we're a 24-hour sim league. So I keep doing them, and I turn them into stuff. And then I started having to make sure that everybody knows they're fictional, because I started taking things, and I took places and restaurants and stuff and made commercials and sponsors for these picks of the week, on this video game. And so then it just grew even bigger. And then when you think it can't grow anymore, we come up with the idea. I don't remember if it was just me or if it was me and my buddy Joe. But we come up with the idea. It might have just been me, but I think it was both of us were talking, and I'm like, I should interview you for my show. And he was like, you should interview me for your show. So I interviewed him, and it was probably the best episode of the Horned Frog podcast to date. unreal. It was fantastic. Everybody loved it. And that's when the push began. So everybody at that point starts telling me, hey, you need to do a real podcast. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing a real podcast. It's not going to happen. You know, that's not going to happen. But these guys, several of them, kept pushing, especially my buddy Joe, that I needed to do a real podcast, that I'd be great at it, and that it would be amazing. And finally, these guys peer pressured me enough that I made my own YouTube channel specifically for my podcast and came up with the name Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub. Now, I called myself Coach Dub. The guys loved it. They started calling me Coach Dub. I coach my kids' t-ball team, and, you know, and I told the kids, I said, hey, my name's Coach Larry or Coach Wick, and I was like, but y'all can call me Coach Dub because that's what my friends call me. So what do you think those kids call me? They call me Coach Dub because that's my name. So let's not forget it, right? And how can we forget it when it's in the name of the show, Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub? So anyways, I figured, you know what, I'll try a trial episode. There's not a lot of sports going on. Football season's over. Basketball season's in full swing. We just had the All-Star break. You know, I'm a big basketball fan. So I figured, you know, hell, I'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens, see where it goes. You know, maybe it turns into something great. Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't really matter because at this point it's all for fun, right? So I'm going to give you all some breakdowns and some looks at some scores and stuff from this week. Or not from this week, but from today. Today I'm at work. It's technically 3 o'clock in the morning on February the 20th, but we're going to talk about sports that happened on February 19th. The NBA had a lone game on Wednesday. That's going to be the Charlotte Hornets versus the LA Lakers. It's Luka Doncic. I'm not even sure how you say his name. His third game with the team. He played 33 minutes and recorded a double-double with 14 points and 11 rebounds. Doncic also had 8 assists. The 14 and 39 Hornets struggled in the first half, only scoring 37, and the Lakers took an 11-point lead in a halftime, 48-37. But that's where things took a turn for the worse. As minutes into the third quarter, Austin Reeves was given a technical foul for arguing with officials over a no call that the broadcaster said probably should have been called a foul. Upon receiving it, he had some more choice words for the officials and received a second technical and was ejected from the game. Reeves' ejection must have stirred the Hornets' nest as the Hornets stung the Lakers 32-18 in the third to take a lead that they would never give up as they stunned the Lakers 197. Leading scorers for your Hornets were Mikal Bridges with 29 points and LaMelo Ball with 27. For the Lakers, LeBron James had 26, and he also had a double-double as he recorded 11 assists. While we're talking about, you know, the Lakers and how they recently got Luka Doncic, let's talk about that for a minute. I'm not a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. I'm more of a Spurs fan or a Rockets fan. It's hard to really pick one team because all these teams from Texas are great. But when Mark Cuban sold the team, these people have made some mistakes because Luka Doncic meant everything to the Dallas Maverick fans. You know, he put butts in the seats. People came to watch him play, to score points and get rebounds and have these huge games and have these stunning shots that he made and to be such a player that was so hard to guard. You know, like amazing. He's just an amazing player. Yes, he's slow. Yes, he cannot play defense. You know, yes, he looks like he's overweight all the time. But the guy can play basketball. You know, and the people of Dallas love him. You know, hell, I like Luka. You know, I think he's great. The Lakers probably got the biggest deal in the history of the NBA, getting Luka per Anthony Smith, Anthony Davis, and some other guys. Sorry, you know, there's my first mistake in my first podcast, calling Anthony Davis Anthony Smith. But Anthony Davis is always hurt. You know, the guy can play basketball. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. And the Dallas fans just don't want that. They don't. They want Luka. And they're coming to games, paying for tickets so that they can chant to fire the general manager of the Mavericks, you know, and what is happening? The Mavericks organization is throwing them out the game. That's just, to me, it's just crazy. But, you know, that's sports. You know, they're trying to practice their freedom of speech, and the Mavericks are trying to practice the fact that they don't want that stuff going on at their games. More power to that organization. But let me tell you something. And this is my personal belief. This isn't fact, and probably never will be fact, and it'll probably never even come to pass. But I personally believe that if the Dallas Mavericks were to make it to the NBA championship and win an NBA championship this season, it would not change the fact that the Dallas Mavericks organization has alienated their fan base. These people aren't going to care that they won a championship because they rather have Luka. That's what I believe. I believe they want Luka to be the one to be in Dallas and to stay in Dallas for his career and to even win a championship with the Mavericks. They are disappointed, they are sad, they're angry, and they are hurt. And I promise you, the Dallas Mavericks organization at some point down the line is really going to feel that and realize the mistakes that they made. But at this point, you know, you can't go back. You can't change things. It is what it is. You know, no matter how much they call for, you know, them to get Luka back, there's no way that Dallas can make that happen. Because I'm going to tell you, there is nothing that they could offer the Lakers to get him back. Period. There's no do-overs. There's no hit the reset button. Huge mistake. Nothing you can do about it. And now the fans are going to have to live with it. And they sure as hell don't want to. And they are putting up a fight. And they're putting up a fuss. And they're making themselves known. And good for them. Because that's, you know, what they need to be doing to make these people realize that they made a mistake. You know, while we're talking about mistakes and we're talking about poor ownership, you know, let me talk real quick about the Dallas Cowboys. Long time ago, I used to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. Now I've been looking elsewhere for a new team for the past several years. I'll root for any Texas team, so I definitely root for the Texans. But, you know, I'm kind of on the fence as a Falcon fan. I got family from Georgia. But I will never, ever be a Cowboys fan again until the Jones family no longer runs that team. They have run the team into the ground because Jerry wants to be in control and to be in the power, and he thinks that his decisions are the best, you know, and he thinks everything he does is right, but he makes the worst decisions I have ever seen in my life. That team is poorly ran. They have no clue what's going on, and as long as people keep buying tickets and going to football games and buying merchandise and putting money in Jerry Jones' pocket, he's not going to do anything different. I can promise you that. It'll be the same old shit, excuse my French, every single year. The Cowboys are not going to get better until either the Jones family has sold the team or until people quit putting money in the Joneses' pocket. Period. You start taking money away from Jerry Jones and he's not making the money he made, and that team ain't making him money, he'll start looking to make different decisions because he's more worried about the money that team puts in his pocket than winning a championship. And you can take that to the bank because you heard it here first on the Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub podcast. But enough about the Dallas Cowboys. This isn't about the Dallas Cowboys show or anything like that. I just thought I'd get that off my chest because that's kind of how I feel about that. Dallas apparently has the two worst organizations in sports between the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Mavericks at this point in time. I don't think too many people would argue with that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree with that. I'm pretty sure their fans agree with it because even the Cowboys fans at this time are starting to get really upset. The problem is they just continue to go to the games and support the teams, win or lose. And I understand that's the way it's supposed to be when you have a team. But when you have ownership that doesn't do what they could do or do their best to make the team better, and your team struggles year after year when it could be different, how do you support that? Because at that point, you're enabling the Jones family to continue to make the bad decisions that they've made over the years. Okay, let's look into some college sports. See what we got going on in the world of college basketball today. Some pretty good games going on. Auburn hosting Arkansas. Auburn moves to 24-2 with a 67-60 win over Arkansas, hard fought win. Very hard to down them for that. But you know, it is what it is. God, this is making this sound like shit. I'm gonna have to edit all that part out anyway. So Auburn moves to 24-2 after a hard fought win, 67-60 over Arkansas. Good win for them. Number 4, Alabama, playing number 15, Missouri, and they dropped their second one in a row as they lose to Missouri 110-98. Giving up 100 points any day is bad for any team, but especially for number 4 Alabama as they drop their second in a row after losing to number 1 Auburn on Saturday. Other games in the SEC, you got number 17 Kentucky beating Vanderbilt 82-61. And number 10 St. John's also had a game tonight against DePaul. They beat DePaul by a score of 24, 82-58. Great game for them. Upcoming games today, you've got number 20 Maryland versus USC. That's a good Big Ten game. Might keep an eye on that. Friday, you've got number 16 Marquette versus Villanova. And number 14 Michigan State versus number 12 Michigan. Those should be great games. That's all I got for you in the world of college basketball. Texas A&M did lose to Mississippi State in a shocker and an upset. I don't believe that game was on Wednesday. I believe that was a Tuesday game. But sad day for the Aggies, losing to Mississippi State. Good win for the Bulldogs. All right, let's see, what else can I talk about here? Not really sure what else I could talk about at this point. I managed, I think, to get 15 minutes. That's pretty good for a pilot episode of Let's Talk Sports with Coach Dub. You know, you guys, please give me your feedback. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'd love to see how you thought it went. Things maybe I can improve. I'm sure when I really put some time and effort into this, I could really make it great. Thank you, Joe, for pushing me to do this. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you guys. Best friends in the whole world, even though y'all are from West Virginia and I live in Texas. It was great meeting you guys, and I appreciate your conversation. I appreciate your support. And, you know, go Florence Aggies. That's my kids' t-ball team this season. Until next time, this is Coach Dub signing off.